Hello, I'm Bartling, and I certainly hope that you and yours are finishing the year with a sunnier, warmer day. Well, the older I am, the more that I think. And I think it's the time of the year that they are celebrating everywhere. So how do you celebrate the New Year's? And how do you prepare to paint that canvas of 2025 with your dreams, aspirations, as you go down that journey of life? Let me share with you some different traditions that I have heard about and seen around the world. In Japan, at the strike of midnight, they ring a bell all over the land 108 times. They do that 108 times to bring them prosperity and good luck. In the country of Greece, here's a tradition that's a little abnormal to us Americans. In Greece, they take a pomegranate, which is to be representative of fertility and life and again prosperity. But the father will take the pomegranate, and at the threshold of the door, he will then throw it down as hard as he can. Because you see, the more seeds that are on the threshold, the better the coming year will be. A little bit different. Now, in the country of Panama, a couple traditions to share with you. You see this kind of raggedy Andy here that you see. In fact, LaDonna made this way back in high school, I think it was. Well, this raggedy Andy would be in Panama called an effigy. And it would be stuffed indeed with straw. And on New Year's Eve, they would then put this on a post. And they would then put it on fire. So as the old year was leaving, then the effigy then would not be in the coming year. Now the effigy could represent politicians, whoever they want to, or people that maybe you've heard the saying, as I slide down the banister of life, I find John Doe to be the splinter up my ask me who I'm thinking. Effigy in Panama, the burning of the effigy. Also, in Panama, it seems they pride themselves of having their heritage come all the way from Spain. In fact, one of their biggest coins, I think the biggest coin in the country, is called a Balboa. Now, in Spain, the Spanish there is a little different than sometimes in different places, especially like, say, Mexico. And the Panamanians seem to really take pride in them trying to continually to use the Castilian Spanish from Spain. Well, one tradition that they do, that they have adopted from Spain, and they do in Panama, at the stroke of midnight, so when the clock strikes midnight, at each chime, they will then eat a grape. And then for the next chime, they eat another grape. A total of 12 grapes. And those grapes are to bring, again, a fruitful life and prosperity. Believe me, it is not easy to eat 12 grapes in the 12 chimes of a clock. It's harder than you think. So let me tell you a story. An auctioneer waited for the next piece of merchandise, and it come wheeled out, and it was on a table. To his disappointment, it was an old violin. Now, he had spent some time, of course, ahead of time, as a good auctioneer does, of looking over the merchandise. And when he saw this violin, he saw that the neck had a crack in it, and he saw that the chin pad even had mold on it. And it was old, and it was dusty, and it seemed to be not worth much at all. To him, it seemed to be next to worthless. So he starts and says, "Who will give me $1 for this violin?" Hand goes up, $1. Ah, who will give me $2? Who will give me $2? Who will give me $2 for this violin? Another hand goes up. I got two. Who will give me $3? Who will give me $3 for this violin? Lo and behold, with his motivational talk and cadence, he gets the $3. He says, anyone going for? Anyone wants to go for $4 for this violin? He says $3 going once, $3 going twice. And just then, an old gray-haired man from the back stands up, and he slowly walks forward to the auctioneer. And as he does so, all the eyes are upon him. And the old man comes up to the table and picks up the violin. And he kind of dusts it off, and he kind of tunes it a little bit. And then he grabs the bow. And then that old violin came to life. Such was the beauty of the music that the violin and the old man were playing. In fact, it brought tears to some of the people there. And when he was done, he laid the violin down and walked out of the auction hall. With the auctioneer gets up and says, "Who will give 1,000? Who will give 1,000 for this masterpiece?" A hand goes up. "Who will give 2? Who will give 2 for indeed this masterpiece?" Another hand goes up. "Who will give 3? Who will give 3 to this magnificent masterpiece that you just heard?" $3,000 was the bid. 3,000 going once, 3,000 going twice. $3,000 sold to the gentleman in the back. There was again silence, and then everyone kind of looked at each other, astonished. And then someone said what everyone was thinking. What took place here? It went from $2 to $3,000. The auctioneer said, "Folks, it was a thing that always makes the difference. It was the touch of the master's hand." Now, this poem was written by a lady by the name of Myra Welch. And you see, Myra Welch was an organist for a little church, and she loved to use her talents and play that organ. And she then slowly became afflicted with arthritis. And her hands were such, like a little finger, but all of her fingers, kind of crooked, could not straighten it out with the arthritis. And so she couldn't play the organ anymore. And one Sunday, she heard a sermon from her pastor. It was about David. And one of the things that David would use was an old sling. Now this sling, you'd put a rock in, and then you could throw it to maybe scare away animals or even kill animals. And it had been handed down through generations, this old sling. But the pastor told the story of how David had taken that sling when he was taking some food to his brothers at a battle. And David was just a scrawny little kid, just really only good to watch over the flock. And so David asked what was going on. And of course, there was then Goliath, who had said, "Who is brave enough and believes in their God to confront me?" And David took the old sling. And from that sling, he then, as we know, killed Goliath. And indeed, it was the master's hand. And from that object lesson and sermon, Myra Welch wrote the poem that I just read, The Old Violin. And again, that poem tells about how Myra, in being afflicted, in thinking, being put aside, she rejoiced in God's love. And from that thing, she has blessed millions all through the world. So as you look at the year 2025, you paint your canvas for 2025. Keep in mind, take time to talk to your Father, the Master's hand. And now let me share with you a little wisdom in the hills. Let's call it the hills wisdom. Some would call it maybe cowboy wisdom. First one, make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of yourself. Work in silence. Celebrate in private. Don't regret the past. Just learn from it and move on. Ignore the advice of anyone who does not live up to who you want to maybe be. And you're truly at peace with yourself when you mind your own business. I hope indeed that as this year closed out, that you found yourself a sunnier, warmer day with those that you love and those that know that you love them. So I want you to take care out there, because you know I'm rooting for you. Because we're in this together. And remember this: blessed are they who ease the pain of misfortune, for they shall be called insurance agents. Take care. See you next year.